Yo, 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 yo. What is up, everybody out there? Maximilian, how you doing?
Doing good. Ah, here we go. We got Jort.
Jort's in the room.
Dude, like I'm sitting outside in a park right now because I couldn't make it to the hotel on time.
Uh,
But I'm here. Don't worry. Like dedication squad, right? No, but it's fine. I can do it from here. Like that's perfectly.
Today is day one, so there is a new kit that is out, and it is popping. And Jort actually not only did he do this beautiful cover for it, which let me pull up right here. Not only did he do this beautiful cover for it, but he actually designed all these pieces as well. So this was one of the first kits where we brought in a tag team concept artist and 3D modeler, and they both went back and forth with your designing all of these pieces and Mikhail going and building them all out. Your what was the first? I'm gonna jump right into this, but
Yeah.
what was the first couple things that you were thinking when you saw that we wanted to do a space colony kit? What was your initial thought?
Well, so I mean, my initial thought was, I mean, I was super excited that to begin with, right? I mean, like I love what you guys been doing, and the sets are just so top quality. So I really wanted to figure out something that would really fit with what you already had. And it was I think it's like one of the first sets that actually got like to be designed as well, right? So that was quite an opportunity, and yeah, and so I really want to make it work. So what I was looking for really was a kit that would fit sort of what I really like about space themes, and that is sort of a more realistic style, and so but still keep it just a little bit of, a little bit designed, so not super realistic because it still had to work from, all the distances. That's really something that I felt was key for this set, is that it would work from like far out, but also like you could do like, more zoomed in sort of keyframe shots with this set as well. And so it would work on different scales, is really what I was going for, I guess. Um, yeah, so like I mean, we've been brainstorming a lot, like you and me, Max, and also with with Michal, and just see like what's cool. And we decided on like, sort of our vision for what NASA would do in a couple of years. So yeah, I hope that came through all right.
Yeah,
Like,
that was one of the coolest things for me, as seeing this kit come together and thinking about how this, from an engineering standpoint, these pieces would actually be what it would be like, or what it will be like if we get out there and colonize on Mars or somewhere else out there. York, can you talk a little bit about the research process in trying to figure out, from SpaceX and NASA, what the things are that they're focusing on?
yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, it's largely based on research I already did a couple of years ago for my graduation project. And so basically for that project, what I did was I would analyze what NASA and SpaceX had planned for the missions, but then also like cross-referencing it with like what would be logical for a base. So, for instance, there's a lot of corridor sections and tunnel sections in this set that uh, um, just because, if you build a base on the moon, you cannot actually just go walk outside, out of your room and just go to the next room, because you need a spacesuit. It's all like vacuum, and it would be quite of kind of deadly if you just do that. So therefore, like we came up with a set of like yeah, corridor sections that would join together, and just building things on like principles like that. Like, hey, we need to know what people need to survive in a vacuum. We need to know what people need to survive on Mars. That's really what led to the creation of the whole project. So I basically started with just HAB modules. Then the question automatically arose, like, how are people going from HAB to HAB, or from a lab, or like a farm to another section of the base. And then, well, maybe they want bigger sort of corridor sections where they can actually use vehicles as well. So then I made like a bigger corridor section, and then you need like bigger HAB modules to join to that, and then you need different modules for like power generation, power storage, and so it just kept going from there really, and it was really just looking at what NASA and SpaceX had in mind for, or have in mind for the future, and just seeing how I could, yeah, sort of make that my own, I guess.
Yeah, and man, you've crushed it. I love how modular this is, and how you can go from power stations and have modules into greenhouses. You really get to see how these could fit together in your own way, whoever the artist is, unique to their design of what a space colony could be like every time.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that was quite an interesting challenge as well, is to make something that is, I mean, to design, things that are generic enough to be used in many different ways, but also specific enough that they still fit with what we sort of need. And I really hope I got that right. But I think looking at what Max has been doing so far, and Michael as well. I had a little try with putting some stuff together, and I had a couple versions of the promo art as well. So I think I achieved that, but I'm so super stoked to see what other artists are gonna do with this kit, and just to see like what they end up creating. I think it's gonna be awesome. So yeah.
This is super cool. For me, I remember when we were first designing this kit, we were pulling a ton of references of what ideally we wanted this kit to look like, and one of the main ones was one of your paintings. For those of you who don't know of Jort's artwork, by the way, let me give you. We jumped right into the kit and we didn't give you a proper intro.
That's okay.
Jort started his career at Guerrilla Games. He started doing concept art on Horizon Zero Dawn. He then moved on to Star Citizen. We did quite a bit of work with them. And correct me if I'm wrong on any of this stuff. And then you moved to Rome. You just were like, screw it, I'm going to Rome, and you've been teaching at Idea Academy. Is that?
Yep, that's right. And freelancing for various clients at the same time.
Awesome.
Yep. Like Adam Hawk I work with, and I work with some other like studios, also doing other stuff than just entertainment design. So I did like actual product design, designing a drone that got picked up by the French firefighters and military. So that was a ton of fun.
That's gotta be crazy to design something that actually ends up getting built and used in the military.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know at the time it was going to be military. It's more like a surveillance drone. It's like it's just a thing with a camera, not with a machine gun or anything. But designing something for the physical space is so much fun, and really, it really forces you to tackle, to approach like problems in a completely different way. And I think doing that drone design really prepared me to be able to do the stuff that I've been recently doing, actually.
That's awesome. We got a question here from where was it? From Dondatron. There we go. How much work was involved in getting these SketchUp models to poly models for the kit? P.S. I absolutely love Jort's work.
I mean, there was a lot of work involved. So probably Michael would be a better a person to ask. But the SketchUp models, I got quite close, and then what I did basically was do a draw over of these SketchUp models. So I would get like a basic block out, do a quick line art render just from the SketchUp itself, and then take it further, like push it further with line art on top of that, because that allowed me to be really quick and iterative. And like I would send them to Michael, and he would give me suggestions and feedback, and we were really able to punch out a lot of assets. Like I did over 60 assets for this kit. And doing 60 briefs, concept art briefs, is quite a lot of work, but using that workflow, we managed to do it. So what Michael did, he took my line art sketches, he used the SketchUp models as scale reference and also as proportion reference, because they were largely, quite accurate. And then he just added, the textures on top and all the cloth detail. There's a lot of, I'm not sure if you already showed the essence of the kit actually, but there's so much intricate cloth detail, and also in the patterns of the cloth detail, that I think came out really, really awesome. And he just did an amazing job on that.
Yeah,
I hope that answers the question.
Completely. What I thought was such a great workflow is that you really could be free to focus just on the shape details, and then have Mikhail focus on actually, getting the right poly flow and figure out the bevels and make it so that, everyone else out there who's picking this up, who's going to work with it, is going to be able to customize this however they want.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Not only were you designing these pieces individually, but you were sending us videos of like how you were designing this, because you weren't designing this as a row of pieces. You were designing this as a colony and then pulling the pieces out of there.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. And I think that's really important to not design in a vacuum, as I call it, but to design in context with the whole kit being there present, or and then focusing on just like the corridor section, the small corridors at first, and breaking out like the large corridor section, because what I really noticed, and that was, with working on Star Citizen specifically, but then later also the HBO work I did recently, is that if you design in a vacuum, as soon as you put it together in an environment with all the other assets, a lot of the times it would just not add up. Like it wouldn't look good, in relation to each other. And as this was really supposed to be a toolbox for artists to use creatively, I think the consistency in the looks of the assets was one of the most important things, really. Which is why, yeah, I chose to actually do the whole set as a set, in a rough sketch, and then you know detail it out from there, but constantly cross referencing, seeing if it still works together as a set as well.
yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, it's funny because very rarely do I get a chance to play with kits anymore. Like it sucks because we have this huge backlog of all these things, and but we're spending so much time designing them and trying to make them for everyone else to create awesome paintings that I rarely get to touch them. But this one was one of the ones I was most excited for, and so I had like a Saturday morning off, and all I wanted to do was play with this as you guys were finishing pieces. So I didn't get to finish any painting, but I did like a full day just playing around with it, and had like an absolute blast with it. Um, and if it loads up, I'll pull up some of the stuff that I was playing with as well. Just this kit is just it's so customizable.
Oh wow, that's awesome, man.
So yeah, I was just playing with like just messing around and seeing what cool things you could do with it, and I'll kind of tumble around with this because just kind of shows a little bit of.
Yeah, I mean that shows you so well, like how well the kit holds up, like in a close up as well.
Yeah, it really holds up nicely.
This is the textures that come right out the box, right?
Yeah, this is exactly how it comes. So I mean, you can get real close to this thing, and it holds up pretty well. I mean, the detail in the actual models is there, and then the textures are just some tilables, but I think they work pretty damn well. Yeah, and I love with this, like, I was just playing around almost like it was like Sim City type of thing, just building out like what's the coolest type of space colony design type of thing, and then I was like I didn't even get to the painting part because I just was having so much fun tumbling around in it.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah, and I'm sure for I'm sure that must have been for you when you were creating the cover. How do you decide where to start with this whole thing?
Yeah, I mean, so as you know, Max, as well, like I did a couple versions initially, and it was just, it's quite a challenge because you want to show off, the whole kit, but then also like, add a narrative thing, and it's really like a really huge puzzle piece where you you really try to combine all the assets at the same time. So yeah, really had a couple tries, and then ultimately I just went back to the beginning. I mean, like I started out making the kit as a kit, so why not just like take what I did there, but then use all the up-res models and all the final sort of detail, improve on the layout, and then use that as a base and then as a paint over. So that's actually what I ended up doing. Like I just took what I initially made, what we were all really happy with before I did all the breakouts, and then added on the final geometry. And just made it really cooler. And then, as a slight sort of touch, I really added in like the big obelisk from 2001: Space Odyssey. Yeah, like I really wanted to do a small nod because that's what started me on the whole space journey. Really, like after seeing that film, I was just so blown away by the artistry and just everything involved in that film. Um,
Oh
yeah,
man, dude, I didn't even notice that the obelisk in the center of the excavation site.
yes, sir.
That's fantastic. Oh, that's such a nice little Easter egg.
Yeah, so yeah, but people won't notice that at first, but yeah, like that's a little Easter egg, and then also the 52 is actually the latitude of the city I was born in. But yeah, like I just like to put like little numbers in there. But yeah, so that was gonna be like the narrative focus of the piece, and then I just like try to, yeah, to really touch up the rendering of this as far as possible. Try to go for a little bit more of a painterly look than maybe most of the map painting sort of promo pieces that you guys got. But I hope that's like you liked it, so I'm sure that's okay. But I just like to make it look at least like a bit of a painting, and also try to hand paint or finish the textures with sort of like a hand painting touch. I think it adds a finish that feels nice. I don't know. I just like it. Like, so that's just what I went for.
I really like it too. It comes alive for me, and regardless of how pushed and photoreal or painterly a piece is, I think if the piece is alive, then it achieves the goal, and it makes you feel something. And looking at this, I get excited, and I want to know what's going on in there. And I see this space colony, and you see all the tiny little details of what feels like people are inhabiting this thing, and then you look up to the horizon and there's planets out in the distance, and you get that's, I'm assuming that's Earth. I don't want to make too
yeah, supposedly, yeah. I mean, it's a bit of a fantasy moon though, because I mean there's not really any atmosphere or smoke there, but whatever. It looks cool, right? You have to take some yeah, like a little bit of artistic freedom sometimes.
What I love about this cover.
Yeah, no, thank you so much, by the way. Like, really appreciate the nice words.
What I love about this cover is it is so it feels like you put your stamp on it, and I think that's what we're always going for when we bring on an artist to do a cover. We want them to put their stamp onto it. And for me, when I was doing the first couple covers, my style is very like tight photoreal matte painting stuff, but like that's not necessarily what we want from everyone. And having especially people like Jonas DeRoe and Leon and yourself and E-Man and all these people who are way more concept artists than matte painters, the looseness and the brushstrokes that you guys actually bring to it, and where you decide to put the detail and where you decide to cheat the detail, is I think what gives you guys that signature style and signature look. And here I think it's so cool that when you zoom out, you see this like really tight looking painting, but as you zoom in, you get to see where the brush strokes actually are and where you get to be a little more loose. And I think that's just awesome.
I think that's a really cool.
Thanks so much, man.
I think that in this series of cover arts that are being made, cover images, I believe art would be singular, whatever. In this series, we really have signature styles from each artist, and there's that moment that each piece gets to become a statement of them within this larger collection. And I think it's so cool to be a part of that and to be building this collection with you guys. I'm just happy.
I mean, I'm truly honored to be a part of it again. Like, and yeah, thanks so much again for the invitation, not just to design the kit, but to do the promo as well. Like, it was a ton of fun. Like, even at the end, it was a bit of a tight stress, but like that's always the case with the good stuff, right? You need to like push it as hard as possible, and that yeah, no, it was a lot of fun, absolutely.
Well, we had Hunt Gardy on the show last week, who's done a lot of the Marvel movies, and he works in previs. And one of his notes, which I think is so crucial, is he says he's always trying to keep in mind the end piece.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing, I feel like we can get so bogged down in the weeds of trying to make the tiniest rocks details in the horizon, when in the end piece, what you need to achieve is the feeling. And no matter what, every artist is working on some form of resource restraint, be that budget or time or both. And to be able to hit a piece like this in a specific time span, I think is the goal. And so to have every tiny detail and the backs of every building in full finished is not the goal. The goal is to achieve a feeling. As Droki says in the thing, he says, "Does anyone else feel like this image is an Elon Musk wet dream?"
I just read that, man. I love that guy. I don't know who he is, but or girl. Yeah. That's
Droki,
awesome.
Droki, here's a cool fact about
Joki is Jort, just a heads up because you do know Joki's Mike Golden, who we've done many
Oh,
video
really?
chats
All
with.
right.
There you go.
Dude,
and,
Mike, love you, dude.
and
Yeah,
so Droki made the very first Kit Bash image. From when the first kits were launched, he put out on Instagram the first image, and that's how we found him. And then he competed in the KB3D contests that went on all last fall, as well as the Kitmas Bash, and then and now he's here, obviously working with us in the 3D world.
And he's also streaming, which is really cool to watch. Whenever you guys get a chance, he's streaming under Droki and doing some really cool stuff with Kit Bash as well.
Forrest Lamb says SpaceX is going to buy this kit.
sure, hope so.
Yeah, hit him up.
So.
Awesome. Well, do you want to run us through quickly what your process was? You found a camera angle. Well, tell us this. Did you build out a layout for the cover? Did you build out a layout in 3D before deciding on the camera angle, or did you decide on the angle you wanted and then build out from there?
Both at the same time, actually. Yeah, like I decided a camera angle that I sort of liked, and that was like hitting it 95%. Then I did the layout, which actually just because of, I ended up doing that in like just sort of reverse engineering stuff with a combination of Keyshot and SketchUp. But then like when I went into Keyshot for the final render, I actually adjusted my camera angle just slightly, ever so slightly. I did like 6 different shots just that were like really close, and then I just picked the best one, made that into a full render, and then just started from there basically. When you stick to one thing, like sometimes your gut just tells you that you just need a slight tweak, and like once you do the render, you can't go back. So better do that slight tweak, and then just hit the full render, and then all the paint over stuff. There was a lot of paint over though.
Yeah, what a beast.
I mean, that's sort of like my problem with, why I don't do a lot of these kind of pieces. Like I'm not too good at 3D, especially when it comes to like outdoor large scale environments and nature stuff. So I ended up basically hand painting most of that.
I know how much
personality, right? So yeah.
Oh, it's awesome, dude, and I know that 3D is not as much of your like part of your workflow. I know usually you just throw some basic shapes in SketchUp and then it's just all painting, right? That's mostly your workflow. But I'm so happy that we got to push you into doing something this big and wide, because I think you really stepped up and really knocked it out of the park.
Dude, like I'm so happy you guys pushed me as well, because I mean the best stuff is made when you leave your comfort zone, and this was definitely one of those pieces. So yeah, that's just definitely was really, really awesome in that regard, as one of many. And then the process of the piece itself, because you basically let me just do my thing, you being really motivational and stuff. But like in terms of art direction, I actually started art directing myself mostly because it was just better that way. So what you see, like if you flip through the versions, is you see these pink notes basically, where I sketch in, where I want to improve certain things, and then just add notes like add more detail, add more texture, simplify. And because what I found, like I do this especially with like really tough or complex pieces like this one was, just to keep it all on track, right? So like you are creative, and then you take a break, coffee break, whatever. You come in, you're like super analytical, coffee break, and then super creative, and then and that's basically how I worked up this piece. So like you basically switch between two personas as you progress, and by really focusing on being super creative or super analytical, you remove doubt that might slow you down. So when you're on like a big complex piece where you want to use as much time as possible, or you're on a time limit, I think that can really help and really sort of remove the option of having doubts of what you're doing, because there's a moment to doubt everything and there is a moment to not doubt anything, right? And I think that's really how I how I approach this piece as well. So if you see the ones with the pink
Yep.
scribbles, that's basically that. And I do that like in all my professional work when it comes to the more complex stuff.
I love
Yeah,
flipping through this and seeing all of your pink scribbles, and then flipping to the next one and seeing those pink scribbles replaced with like actual painting detail.
Yeah.
It's such a smart way to work. I do this for myself as well. I mark up my own paintings, but I like that idea that you're talking about of giving yourself those deliberate shift changes of like, there's a time for painting where my focus is not on what do I need to do for the overall piece to make this better, but it's about how do I, improve this building over here or add the values over here. And you really get to get tight into the image. And then you have the moment of stepping back and looking at the entire image and going, where are the next weak spots that I need to improve on? Then going back in and giving yourself that time to get back into the painting mindset. It's really amazing to be able to separate that out and to give yourself those two different zones to switch back and forth from.
Yeah, no, it's funny to hear that you do that as well. Actually, like, I don't know, I thought I was alone, but yeah, no, that's good, man. But yeah, I mean, I think it's especially useful for anyone that's listening that is a freelance artist, because often as a freelancer, you have to wait for feedback for quite a long time. So if you can dive into that sort of self-criticism stage and give yourself feedback, like really essential critical feedback, and then send it, I think you get one step ahead, and your clients would definitely greatly appreciate that as well. But it takes a lot of practice to get there, and also like you really need to be using your references a lot and have good references to start with as well.
What I actually do, which I think is super helpful, is I send that to my clients when I'm in the middle of a map painting.
Scribbles.
Yeah, so I'll send them my notes so that when I'm doing a painting for someone, not only do they know like here's where I'm at right now, but then they also get a version of like, here's what I'm still paying attention to that I know I'm not done with.
Mm-hmm.
And I think between doing that, it gives them a much better idea of where in the process I am and what are they looking at and what should they add notes to.
Yeah, no, that's a pretty good one. But I guess that mostly goes for like the pieces that take a longer time period, or do you do that with some short things as well? Or
I mean, if it's a concept painting, usually I just have a day, so I'll bust that out and just send it to them wherever I get to at the end of the day. But if I'm working on a map painting that's going to take 2 weeks, a lot of the times I'll send them a rough version, and they won't even know where to comment because they don't know where in that process I am. Right? They're not map painters. They don't know the step by step, and so those scribbles actually really help to guide them to understand what direction I'm headed in.
Mm-hmm. No, that's awesome, and it's great. But yeah, I think that might be like really interesting for people watching as well. So that's why I wanted to mention it. But no, that's awesome, man. Cool.
Super cool to see this on yours. I love seeing other people's notes and what they're giving themselves and the way that you're approaching it.
Mm-hmm.
We got a couple questions.
Getting a bite of my pizza.
Forrest Lim asks, did you have a certain source when you were looking for references for this kit?
So for the building of the kit, I look mostly at just NASA space vehicles, particularly the ATV series of vehicles, which were the first robotic automated transports to the ISS after they decommissioned the space shuttle. And so I really like the patterns on the cloth on those vehicles, and also the breakup of the metal, as compared to the cloth. So you should look them up. They're really cool, and they're also European built, which I'm European, so.
Oh yeah, this is awesome. Okay, cool.
And so you have shots of them like in space, but you also have shots of them in the lab, and that's and there's a lot of really cool, interesting frames and sort of breakups of material and sort of proportions that I really liked in that. So I guess that was mostly my inspiration.
This is super cool. You can see the textures in this that are so. Oh yeah, looking at it in the lab, this makes so much sense. This is awesome. Really good question for us, Lam. I would have I would have not asked that, but this is really cool. I'm really glad that he did. Wow, this thing is awesome. Huh. I'm trying to see. Let me catch up on.
And that's like 10 years ago as well, right? So like you could look at the new Falcon rockets as well.
Yeah, I was looking at the BFG. Elon Musk just posted a new picture of the SpaceX BFG in a lab. It's so crazy because we never get the scale of it. You know, you never really see how giant these things are. Come on, let's see the images.
Yeah, I love that he put his car next to it. His other car, because, you know, not the one that's going to Mars at the moment.
Yeah, completely. It's so cool. And looking at just some of these other SpaceX sections, seeing these landing strips and these rockets that they have designed, it actually is so in line with a lot of the designs of these larger pieces and these landing pads that you created.
Well, I'm happy they add up, but yeah, that was definitely my inspiration, and just sort of the space frames and the stuff that they would logically sort of build. I mean, really, for the space kit, you can go two ways. Like, either they would 3D print everything on the location, or they would take prefab items with them and then build the kits. And I chose for the last thing because I thought it would be more usable for artists. Because really, if you go like 3D printing, you can create any shape, so it would be really hard to like choose a shape to create, if that makes sense. But yeah, so that's basically the inspiration that most of the references that I use.
Awesome. Cool. Well, I want to open this up to anyone in the chat, or also Banks, if you have any questions for Jort. I've been hogging him this whole time. So.
Oh man, I've been loving this. This is so exciting and so rad. This is great. But the chat's been killing it too. Let's pull those in.
Cool. Yeah. Anyone in the chat, if you have any questions for Jort. For me, I'm so excited that this kit is coming out or came out today, and to see all the amazing artwork. I'm curious to see who's going to be the first person to create a painting with it. And I think for me, and I think what you're going to experience today, I hope, for me, one of the most fun things in the world about doing these is that we get to create a Lego set, all these building blocks. And people are going to go out and make a ton of artwork and paintings and build all these worlds that wouldn't have existed had you not put in all the love and effort that you did into every piece and every design of this kit. And so I think that's the most exciting part of this whole thing.
Yeah, as I said before, like I really, really can't wait to see what everyone's gonna do with that, and make sure like to tag me on Facebook if you do anything with my kit, please, because I'd really love to see what you're gonna do.
That's the most awesome. The most fun of the whole thing is seeing the different things people do with the kits. You know, I mean, it was. I always, when I think of that, I always think back to the very first, the Kit Bash Festival, right in our launch, when Emmanuel Shu took all 4 of the launch kits, none of which had anything to do with outer space, and built a space station with them. And I'm so excited to see the modularness and mobility of Space Colony and what people will be able to do taking these pieces. And I'm sure someone's going to build a spaceship. I want to see someone make a vehicle, you know, and I think there's so many great little details in this that can translate to all sorts of things of the imagination.
Yeah, and they're quite modular as well. Like if you look closely to the pieces, as soon as like you get the kit, a lot of the sections and the modules can be easily like extended or scaled because of the way that the kit is set up, and because of the way that I designed the things. I mean, they have to be sort of modular in a way, but it's really quite easy to, like, you know, double the length or double the width of most of the modules.
Yeah, that's what I was doing here. I was just creating these little connector pieces to make these like tunnels way longer. So creating these giant, I guess, well, the way I was playing with it was I would make these different city blocks out of all the pieces, and then I would take I'd make like 6 different types of city blocks, you know, whether or not it was kind of this industrial kind of one or these ones that I wanted to fill in with farms. And I'd create all these, and then once I had all my different city blocks, then I'd start piecing together like the colony out of these different blocks. So kind of kit bashing from small to big.
Yeah.
Super versatile.
That's quite funny, because that's actually sort of how I approach the kit itself as well. Like I just, you know, you have small sections of city, I guess, and then like you kit bash those around, and then you connect them, and then you add the details, and there's so many ways like you can really do this, especially because it's also modular. I guess it's a little different for some kits. Like, you know, if you build cathedrals, there's a sort of like a rule for building a cathedral. You can't really, it's not as flexible as some of the other stuff. Although, of course, you can make a space station with cathedrals, which is fucking awesome.
Which is what you did in the KB3D contest.
Yeah, exactly.
KB3D festival. Yeah.
Yeah, I still have to finish that because apparently SketchUp wasn't too happy with 2 billion polygons. So I have to find a way around that.
Well,
but
I think this scene that I'm tumbling around in it's 7 million polys. It's just like,
yeah,
it's cranking. That's why it's stuttering a little, but like I'm still friggin' proud of how quickly, like how much detail is in here and how quickly it's rendering. It's not bad.
yeah, like again, like thank you guys so much for the opportunity to do the kit and to come on the stream. Sorry I was a bit late. Yeah, miscalculated a little bit with the daylight saving time. Oh, you know who actually invented daylight saving time, right? So we can curse him a bit. Do you know?
No.
I don't know the story. Yeah.
You don't? All right. So let me just give you a hint. It was in between 1938 and 1945.
No way. For real?
Yeah, for real.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I had no clue.
Yeah, so yeah, we can curse him a bit. But
well, thank you for jumping on and for hustling back super fast and jumping on here.
Yeah, no worries, man. It's nice here in the park, right? Just I hope you didn't have too much background noise.
No, not at all. This has been great.
No.
All right, cool.
A couple things I want to shout out here. JD Hilliard has dropped in the invite to the Discord channel. Thank you, JD. If any of you out there are not on the Discord channel, please jump in. It's been a really fun community where we get to keep up from in between our Tuesday to Tuesday streams. Jace has joined us in the chat. I think this is Jace's first time, but he and Droki are real good buddies, and Droki introduced us to him online. Check out his work. Huge thanks to Stuntman Gene for joining us. Again, be sure to check out Lucid Sound if you are in the market for some headphones. They really make some stuff that rock. Again, today is day 1 of Space Colony, so we will be kit is of course half off. It's the only time it will ever be half off for the rest of the day. So if you're in the market to build some space stations, or you want to test your limits and push yourself to see if you can build something else, have at it. And please, of course, when you make something, post or tag us at KitBash3D, or you can post it into the Facebook group. Jort, again, insane, huge thank yous for joining us on this stream and for pouring your heart and soul into both the build of Space Colony as well as the cover photo. I think it's clear to see that the chat obviously is super pumped about it, and I hope you know that we are too.
And I gotta throw out.
Thank you so much.
I gotta throw out a couple thank yous for this, because every kit takes an army to get out there. So, of course, thank you to Jort for not only designing these pieces, but doing this beautiful cover image, as well as Michael Kozlowski for doing the modeling, to Mike Golden for doing the 3D supervision and packaging, and James Vincent for creating the product shots. And then our team as well of Chris Couchot and Sarah Henry and Griffin Schneider for handling all the marketing and social media behind it. So, yeah, we hope you guys enjoy this kit. We have an awesome team who's fighting for it, and really doing its best to make sure that you guys have the tools you need to create awesome paintings and artwork and worlds.